Well, hey, fabulous people, how are you doing? It's been a long time, and let me just be very candid here. The reason why I haven't been on here for a while, it's not because anybody stopped me or scared me. I mean, I've told you guys so many times that I have a backbone of steel. I just got tired of talking about Trump. I just couldn't take it. I wasn't watching the news anymore. Every time someone would bring up his name, I'm like, nope, not today. Sorry, gotta walk away. Because I just couldn't deal with him anymore. I can't stand him, everything about him. I think he is an abomination. I think he is a deranged maniac, and it's very difficult for me to hear his name so frequently. So I was like, you know what? I can't just keep talking about him all the time. It's driving me personally insane. So I just wanted to take a break from talking about him. And the only reason why I'm actually getting back on here today is because I feel like I just have to say something that I think is very imperative that people have to, hopefully think about. I keep hearing a lot of people saying that they're not going to vote, especially black people. And let me just say this. I'm black. So if you've ever watched or listened to the show, you know that I am black. And so I have the right to be able to say this. I'm not saying this as somebody who is non-black and I am making comments about black people. And anybody who knows me knows that I love myself and I love being black. So there's no self-hatred here in what I'm about to say. But the truth is, I see a lot of black people saying that they're not going to vote in this election because they believe that black people have been taken for granted and that our issues have not been addressed by either party. Let me just say this first and foremost. You have to vote in this election if you are black. You must vote in this election, and here's why. What is it? First of all, before I even get into why you must vote, what is your plan after you don't vote? What do you intend on accomplishing by not voting? Do you believe that you're going to send a message to the Democrats that you need to listen to us more? Because if you believe that, then you're being delusional. What you're going to do is you're going to move the Democratic Party further to the left. And as a consequence of that, further to the right. And as a consequence of that, they're going to court voters that do not look like you. Black people, to be candid with you, we make up 13% of the population. 13%. Do you think they're going to spend more time courting 13% of the population as opposed to courting 45% of the population or 60% of the population? No, they're going to go and start courting white working class voters that continuously put Republicans over the finish line. They're not going to come after you and start trying to court you. You don't have the numbers. We don't have the numbers. But anyway, nevertheless, you have to vote in this specific election. And here's why. You have the greatest threat in the White House. As a black person, your power in this country has regressed drastically from just 2 years ago. When President Obama was president, he had black cabinet members. We have one black cabinet member right now, and he's a doofus. We have a retarded black cabinet member who's allegedly a brain surgeon, but he should have done something with his own brain. Because clearly something's not going on right in that head. You have one black cabinet member. One. Even George Bush had more than that. Bill Clinton had more than that. So from Bill Clinton to George Bush to President Obama and now to Trump, we have regressed. And it's going to get worse if you continue to allow the Republicans to gain power. The second reason. What exactly do you gain by giving power to Republicans? What do you gain? So you're going to give power to a group of people that don't even try to court you. They don't care about your vote. They don't care about your livelihood. They don't care about your plight. They don't care about your issues. They don't care about your communities. So instead, we're not going to vote for the people who at least pretend and do some things to insulate us from some of the stuff white supremacists have really wanted to do. Because if it's not for certain Democrats and liberals, white supremacists would have done a lot more damage to black people and probably Jewish people after what we saw just happen to the Jewish community if it wasn't for some of these groups. Republicans want us to be subordinate as black people. Just keep your mouth closed, go do your job, and don't complain. That's what they want from you. Democrats believe that you have the freedom to say certain things. Democrats are nominating a record number of black people. Where are the black people in the Republican Party that are nominated or elected to the Republican Party? I think there's one black senator, and then there's people aren't just going to care about your particular circumstances as your particular race issues when they don't feel them every day. They may sympathize, but they can't empathize because they don't endure those issues that we endure. And the less representation that we have, the more damage that's going to be caused to us. So by putting Republicans in power, you are saying, I really don't care what they do to us. And then I hear people saying, well, then we'll all suffer together. No, we won't all suffer together. The people at the lowest of the totem pole, which is us, will suffer the most. How many times did you recall during Obama's administration, George Bush's administration, Bill Clinton, where you heard the stories of the barbecue Becky every day? Racist white people have felt so emboldened to go after black people and minorities all over this country. They say anything. And this is not something we were enduring every single day under Obama. When 2 black people were shot and killed in a Kentucky Kroger, after the guy had tried and attempted to get into a black church, Trump said not a word. Republicans didn't say a word. They didn't care. Because you, black people, me, you, we don't matter to them. And then you hear these delusional black people like Candace Owens and the so-called Blexit that got destroyed because Kanye was like, don't put my damn name in this bullshit. And then all of a sudden, the Blexit thing, I mean, it literally, this thing opened up one day, the next day it imploded, okay? Because if you are saying, I'm going to leave the the Democratic Party and join the Republican Party, you're a fool. You think that this little cultural thing you guys are doing and saying, black people need to get off the Democratic plantation and all sort of stuff, that if you go to Republicans, they're going to start doing things for you? Is that what you think is going to happen? They've already shown you over decades they don't care about you. But you want to tell us that there's something beneficial to us by voting for a Republican. What is your strategy after you don't vote? What is the strategy? I want to know. What exactly do you think is going to happen when you don't vote? Do you think you're going to have Democrats saying, what should we do, black people? What should we do to get you to vote for us? No, that's never going to happen. In this particular election, you have a record number of black women running. Record number. You have a record number of women, of minorities running in this election. It's one thing to say, I don't like this particular candidate and I won't vote for this candidate. Like Joe Manchin, if I lived in West Virginia, I wouldn't vote. I might go vote for other people, but I wouldn't vote for Joe Manchin. You cannot convince me that there's any difference between him and a moderate Republican. You won't convince me of it. Just because he has a D beside his name does not make him more beneficial to me or to the Democratic Party. So yes, I can understand when someone says, I don't want to vote for Joe Manchin. I agree. I wouldn't do it either. And if he loses, what's the difference? He's no different. He's voting on the long sides of the Republicans. So what's the difference? Because he has a D by his name? So that I can understand. But to say I'm just not going to vote when there's state elections, you have federal elections going on right now. We have candidates that are so inspiring. You've got Andrew Gillum, you've got Stacey Abrams, you've got Beto O'Rourke. I mean, you've got some of the most inspiring candidates running right now who are talking about issues that affect our communities and are talking about addressing issues that affect our communities. And you're saying, I don't want to vote for anyone because then maybe they'll take us seriously. When you have people who are legitimately saying, I'm going to work on these issues, criminal justice reform, prison reform, legalization of marijuana, the Voting Rights Act, restoring voting rights for felons, which disproportionately affects black people. So what exactly would be the logical reason not to vote in this next election? And then you have the madman, the imposter, the fraud, the usurper in the White House, who's just becoming unhinged and unglued more and more every single day. And he's being amplified by all the mainstream media. That's part of the reason why I couldn't watch anymore and didn't want to talk about him, because I got tired of the mainstream media just constantly amplifying everything he says. They'll just report some lie that he said without disputing it or anything else. They'll just report it. And they just continuously amplify him. So I had to stop watching the mainstream media for a while too. And that's part of the reason why, I was like, I'm staying away from politics for a minute. This is so annoying to me. When I hear the man's name, I want to go crazy. But this is so imperative to me that I felt it's the need to get on here and say something. You must vote this next election. It's a selfish decision to not vote. If you care about this country and the trajectory this country is going in, then you're going to get your ass up and you're going to go vote. If you care about the fact that the fraud in the White House has diminished the power of black people in this country, you're going to get your ass up and vote. If you care about the fact that the fraud in the White House is trying to take away rights that affect black people, you're going to get your ass up and vote. If you care about the fact that Republicans don't even like you, they're openly talking and chanting and socializing and uplifting white supremacists, and white supremacists don't like you, then you're going to get your ass out there and vote. If you have a viable plan and a strategy to wake up on November 7th by not voting and see some kind of benefit, let us all know. But I will tell you this. If you don't get out there and vote, you're going to regret it for the next 2 years. And as a matter of fact, things will get worse. The truth is Trump's power has never really been tested. His base has never really been tested. His reach has never been tested. 2016 was a fluke. So many people didn't vote because they thought Hillary had it in the bag, or so many people didn't vote because they didn't want to vote. They didn't like either candidate. So it was a fluke. The guy won on a technicality. Really, honestly, if you look at the Electoral College, he didn't win because the American people wanted him. He won on a technicality. This is the first time he is going to be tested. Personally, does he really have the power we thought he did? Does he really have that base? Is the American population really gravitating towards his style of politics? This election will prove it. This election is about Trump. It's not about anybody else but him. This is about restoring democracy in the United States from an authoritarian, violent, crazy madman in the White House. That's what this is about. So, not only should you vote, you need to bring every single person you know and make sure they vote. And if you can, go out and even people you don't know. When you see them, you're going to the grocery store, wherever, talk to them. Are you voting? Oh, make sure you go. Do you know where your voting place is? I'm not saying you have to get on and start making phone calls for a particular candidate or do anything else, but you need to make sure people go and vote. You will see a drastic change in Congress when Democrats take the House. There will be checks on Trump, who is completely unchecked right now. And if you like the things that he's doing, then yeah, by all means, don't vote. But if you're appalled by the things that he's doing, you better get your ass out there and vote. And let me just tell you something. You give him a lot of power this time around. Oh, what he's going to do unchecked. Oh, he's going to run buck wild. He can fire Mueller. He can do whatever he wants because who's going to stop him? What are you doing by saying you're not going to vote? What is your plan? What is your strategy? Who are you benefiting by doing that? You're not benefiting yourself. And you're definitely not benefiting this country. And, I'm not using the people died for your right to vote thing. I don't argue that, even though I believe that should be a factor people take into consideration. I'm arguing the practical aspect of this situation right now. So I hope that anybody who listens to this that's saying that they're not going to vote goes back and actually asks themselves, what exactly am I accomplishing by doing this? And am I doing more damage to black people by not voting? Am I doing more damage to us? Am I advancing us by doing this? And how am I advancing us by not voting? What do we get by not voting? You have to vote. You don't have a lobby group. You don't have or any organizations that sit there and argue for your particular interest. There aren't those groups. We don't have a lobby group. We don't have a lobby interest group. Every other group does. So the thing is, until you have that and those things in place, you're not going to affect any politics. But the one thing you have that gives you power in this country is your right to vote. That's the only time you have any power. Every other time you are an average citizen having to deal with everything else an average citizen has to deal with. But the time you get to vote, you get a chance to say this person or this person is going to be in power. That's power. So anyway, guys, like I said, I don't know when the next time I'm going to do a show, and I'm not going to make any more promises. I've told myself I will never do that again. But I had to make sure that I came on here and said something to you guys today, because every black person, you're going to get out there and vote in this election. And I don't care what you think you may accomplish by not voting. You are not accomplishing anything. That I can assure you. So, November 6th, get out and vote. Take your friends, take your family, talk to people in the grocery store, at the mall, at work, everywhere else, and make sure they're also voting. This is not the election you sit on the sidelines. This is the most important election of our lifetime. Don't be stupid. Get out there and vote.